Aloha and welcome to Jessie James Beads. My name is Jem and today I want to celebrate with you one of our Goddess bead mixes. This is Goddess Pele from Hawaii, a beautiful and fiery collection of reds and blacks and metallics. It's an absolutely stunning blend that I can't wait to show to you. So if you'd like to join me down at the board, maybe you'd like to make some earrings with me today. Mahalo. Let's take a moment to appreciate the beautiful colours that you're getting within the Goddess Pele mix. You've got some fiery reds, very reminiscent of the volcanoes that are represented by the Goddess Pele, an elemental force of nature. You've also got some oceanic tones in here. I've never been to the Hawaiian Islands, but one day, you never know, maybe I'll get there. What a beautiful bead collection we have, from ceramics to frankly huge verdigris feel massive drop beads. We've got sparkle, both in translucent and in opaque. We've got mother of pearl. We've got gorgeous folds of flowers. We've got composite beads. There is so much in here to love, including these frankly huge metallics. And the beads that we're going to use from the Goddess Pele mix today are going to be these little babies. So I've withdrawn one of these gorgeous floral, I don't know how you would describe it other than component. We have got an also absolutely stunning fiery red piece here. We've got a gorgeous unique tufted tassel. And I'm going to also be using a couple of these lava beads. I've just added in one of my standard earring findings. You could use whichever one works best for you. So to create better movement in this design, I've just slightly updated how it hangs, and it hangs with much more balance. So it looks slightly different from the way it did just a second ago, but that's an improvement. Let's just pop that little baby up in the corner and we'll take a look at the materials. Now I'm going to be using 3 quite large jump rings and an earring finding, in addition to the pieces I showed you before. Let's get the dish out of the way. So in terms of wire, I have here probably more than I need, but it's what's on my desk. It's about 12 inches of 18 gauge wire, and I've gone for round copper. This is a medium temper, but you could work with a soft or a medium. I'm just making sure that that end section is nice and smooth and giving that a quick warm through. The first tool we're going to work with today are round nose pliers. So we're going to create a bit of a horseshoe shape. I'm just going to turn that over and bring that back towards the tail of wire that's coming away. Doesn't matter if it's not completely closed up at this stage. Now we're going to repeat this shape 4 times in total to make that 4-petaled flower at the centre of the design. So I'm going to put my pliers underneath. Let's just give that a little bit of a strengthen. I like the shape and I'd like to keep it that way. So that's now nice and strong. What we're going to do is to grip. I'm just going to grip from underneath because it's easier to show you what's happening. Any flat facing pliers with a reasonably fine tip will do. And what we're going to do is push that wire away from us so that you've got a little bit like a crook or a bit of a hook on the end there. And we're going to continue pushing that wire back a little bit further so that it sits approximately at, if you imagine that there's a straight line inside this little shape, then another one will come out in each of the cardinal directions. So we're going to now just flip this around, give it a quick warm through, and grab again those round nose pliers. And what we're looking to do is to repeat that petal shape. Now what I'm going to do here is start rotating those pliers around, and I'm just going to release and remove and do very small movements like this, so that I can get a similarly sized and shaped loop or petal to appear. So it's just a case of practicing with little bits of scrap wire, and that's another good reason to have slightly more wire than you need, just in case it doesn't go quite to plan. So these look about the same kind of distance from the centre point at the moment. So what I now need to do is just grip that section and draw the wire back across to that imaginary middle. If you imagine, we've got the middle section just here. So we'll switch back again to those fine tipped pliers, and I'm going to grip the wire just to the right of where I want the bend to occur. Because you've got the pliers in position, you're going to need to account for that little bit of wire that's just bending around now. So I'm going to push that again, and I'm going to gently close up that second petal, very, very softly. Give it a bit of a squish to keep it nice and straight and true. So you can see we're already 2 petals down on our floral shape. Let's grab those round nose pliers again, and this is something that the more time you take, the prettier it will look at the end. So just take your time, judge by eye every couple of movements. If you've made it too small, you can pop those pliers back in and rotate away from you. And if you've made it too large, you can rotate them back towards you. 9 times out of 10, you're able to adjust that just enough. Bring the wire back across to that imaginary centre of the flower. Just going to give that a little gentle push to coerce it into position. Give it a squish to keep it nice and strong. So we're going to make our 4th and final petal now. Draw the wire strongly over here, and you can see there's a bit of a gap in my petal here. I'd like that to close up slightly, so I'm just going to push that over and then give it a squish and a squeeze. Warm the wire through again. We're 3 petals of the way there. Not quite the right angle, so I'm just going to close this up ever such a tiny amount. That sits a little bit better, and let's make that 4th and final petal on this design. You could, if you wanted to go for more petals, go for it. I'll explain why I've gone for 4 in just a moment. So drawing that wire back across the centre, we're going to check to see if those petals are all of a similar size and shape. They don't need to be perfect, they just need to be reasonably close. I'm just going to make that a tiny bit smaller by turning the pliers back towards me. I'm generally happy with how that looks, so I'm going to give it a little squish, bring that petal closed up so that the wire comes to the dead centre. When I've got that set how I want it to, I'm going to grip across the design and pull the design away from me so that the petals sit at 90 degrees to the wire. If it's easier, you can draw the wire up. It's just better for me to show you in that orientation. So what you've created here is, in essence, a little bit of a head pin. A very fancy head pin, which is a boon if you don't have any head pins. Knowing how to create one, this is obviously quite a large one, is really handy. So let's get this next piece of wire nice and straight. Give that a smooth through. And I'm looking for this next section to be reasonably straight. What I don't want to do is apply too much mashing with my pliers at this stage. I want it to stay flexible. So let's find the end of the wire and add our beads on. Now, I did say I was going to explain to you why I chose to go for 4 petals. I went for 4 petals on my copper flower because there are 5 petals on the lucite flower and 6 petals on the golden flower, and I like the idea of building up in that way. So I'm going to push this gorgeous lava bead created by fire underneath the Earth's crust. I am not a discoverer or explorer, unfortunately, but I do like to think about these things. So we've got our lava bead into position. Let's add those 2 flower components now. So we've got that gorgeous red and the luscious golden. Drawing those all down into position now, we're going to add on another lava bead on the far side. This not only helps with balance, but it gives us an element of space between the flower sections and where we're going to hang the tassel. Now, lava is a wonderful material to work with because it really is quite strong. You imagine what it's been through already. It's not going to be overly upset when you do this. They're going to bend that wire down. So at the moment it's really pretty, and I have vases like this in my home made with cascades and stacks of flowers. I have got a crown with this kind of thing built up on it as well, because obviously what we're going to do now is trim away a significant proportion of the wire. So if I just cut that to around about 1/2 inch for a moment, you can see that of my 12 inches or so of wire, I've got a good 6 inches or so of wire still available. So you probably could have used just around 6 inches or any scraps that you have on your table. So what we're going to do now is to create a small hanging loop on the back. So if I flip this over, there's more than I need here. I just wanted to trim that away because it's easier for me to handle the design once that is shortened. Now I'm going to estimate that the size of loop I want to make is around about here, and I think that means I need to take just a tiny bit of wire off the end. Now when you're cutting, please be careful of your fingertips. I put my fingertips in the way so that it stops the wire from pinging into the camera. What we're going to do now is make sure that's a good solid right angle at the back there, and then we're going to rotate those pliers around to create an open and closable loop, and we want that to sit just down from that lava bead, so you can pull that around a little bit. It's quite strong to work with. Once we've created that simple open and closable loop, we are going to open it up. That's why it's an open and closable loop, and we're going to pop this lovely fan-shaped multiple tassel design on the rear. Now I originally made this design with this segment trapped between the golden component and the lava bead. It looked very lovely, but there was no movement, and I love to have movement in jewellery. So what we're going to do is take a quick look at the design, and then we're going to move up to the top section. So the top one is opposite to where that loop is hanging, and you can move that around to suit if you need to. It's completely mobile. I'm going to say that this is my top leaf, or my top petal. So because there are 6, you're going to have one at north and one at south, and then 2 on either side. And then you can sit the little red lucite flower however you want. So we're going to open up the jump rings now. So when you're opening a jump ring, you need to only be opening half of it. If you open a jump ring, let me just grab a stunt jump ring. Here's a stunt jump ring that I made a moment ago. If you open your jump rings like this, they're never quite going to be strong or smooth or round again. You can close them up, but they're always going to be slightly on the wonk. So that one is now rubbish. The correct way to open your jump ring is actually with 2 pairs of pliers. And let me just grab that second pair so I can look like a professional for a moment. We're going to operate half of the jump ring by pulling it upwards and away. So you can see that that twists rather than fully opens. And we're going to do that through 2 of these little holes at the top of the golden flower. Now when I'm working at home alone, I do tend to just close it up by hand because it's easier for me to do. The professional way to do it is to control your jump rings with 2 sets of flat facing pliers. Let's get that through the second hole. Doesn't want to go in because obviously, and then let's close that back up. Now if you open and close your jump rings in this fashion, their little endings should end up quite neatly snuggled up against one another, and then you shouldn't have any slipping out. You can of course purchase jump rings that are flush cut. What we're going to do now is add in our 3rd jump ring, again opening it in the professional manner. And we're going to thread that jump ring through those 2 jump rings we added onto the golden flower, and then we're going to add that onto the correct side of the earring finding. So I always get lost with these, I always forget which side is forwards. Close, that's a 3rd jump ring up, and you have got a beautiful degree of movement with your Goddess Pele earrings. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and making with Goddess Pele and Jessie James beads. Mahalo!